the phloem parenchyma, fibers, and companion cells and sieve tubes. Okay, we discussed these topics, the parts that is the cells present in phloem. Okay, so today we'll just go through the differences between xylem and phloem. Okay, you all know the main functions of xylem and phloem. You can have a look on page number 2 and 3. On page number 2, there is a pink box. In that, functions of phloem is mentioned. Okay, I'll read it out. The main function of xylem is transportation of water and mineral salts from the roots to the aerial parts of the plant. Okay, tracheids, vessels, and xylem sclerenchyma provide mechanical strength and support to the plant. Okay, then come to page number 3. A green box is there in which functions of phloem are written. Phloem transports food prepared by the leaves to all parts of the plant. Phloem parenchyma helps in the storage of food. The phloem sclerenchyma or the phloem fibers provides mechanical support to the plant. So we discussed these things in the previous class. Okay, so the main difference which comes between xylem and phloem is about the things they carry in their body. Okay, what does xylem do? Xylem mainly transport water and minerals. Okay, and what does phloem do? It transports food. Okay, it transports food prepared by the leaves. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so this is the main difference between xylem and phloem. Okay, one is doing the transportation of water and minerals, and one is into the transport of food, which is prepared by leaves. And then in xylem, it's given about the tracheids, vessels, and xylem sclerenchyma. Which what does they do? They provide mechanical support and strength to the plant. And here in phloem, the parenchyma helps in storage of food, and the fibers helps in mechanical support. Okay. So we discussed it in the previous class. Now we will go through the differences, the main differences between xylem and phloem. Okay, come to page number 3. There is a box. Okay, there's a box, differences between xylem and phloem. You all got it on page number 3. Did you all got it? If yes, you can put
Yes,
a
ma'am.
thumb. Yes. Okay, then we'll go through the differences between xylem and phloem. Okay. Okay, fine. So first point between xylem and phloem is xylem conducts water and mineral salts from the roots to the aerial parts of the plant. Phloem translocates food from the leaves to the storage organs and growing parts of the plant. Okay, we said right now that xylem transports water and minerals, phloem transports food. Okay, just a minute. Yes, sorry for making you wait. So, what is the first difference? What is the first difference? Xylem carries or transports what? Xylem transports water and minerals, right? And phloem transports food. Okay. So, and the second difference is about the direction of transport. Okay. Xylem is transporting water and minerals in the upward direction, right? From roots to different parts of the body. But what about phloem? It is transporting the food material in downwards direction, that is from leaves to different parts of the body. The food is stored in the leaves. Okay, so from leaves the phloem is transporting it downwards. Okay, yes. So the second difference, if we talk about the second difference, xylem made up of tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem fibers. Okay, it is made up of tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem fibers. Okay. Then phloem is made up of sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma, and phloem fibers. So what is common in xylem and phloem? That is the parenchyma and the fibers. Okay, you have to just put xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers in xylem side, and in phloem side you have to put phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. And what are the different ones? In xylem, tracheids and vessels are present, but in phloem, sieve tubes and companion cells are present. Okay, so this is the second difference. Now, third point, conducting cells, vessels and tracheids are dead. And in phloem, conducting cells, sieve tubes are living. Okay, so tracheids and vessels are basically the conducting cells of the xylem tissue. And in phloem tissue, what is the conducting cell? The sieve tube. Okay, so here in xylem, these cells, these conducting cells, that is the tracheids and vessels are dead. Okay, they are dead and they only provide what? Mechanical support. We read earlier, they are dead and they provide support through the help of other cells. Okay, and in phloem, sieve tubes are living. How it is living? Because it is supported by the companion cells. Okay, I told you earlier, sieve tubes are arranged along with companion cells. Okay, so these companion cells provide strength or provide the help to function the sieve tubes effectively. Okay, and the fourth point in xylem is conduction is unidirectional. Okay, and phloem conduction is bidirectional. Okay, that is conduction means the flow. Okay, the flow or the passage is unidirectional in xylem. Unidirectional means that is in one direction. That is from roots to different parts of the body. That is in upward direction. Okay, but in phloem, it is bidirectional. Okay, from leaves to downward also it goes and to upward portion also it goes a little bit. Okay, that is the food must be the food must be spread into different parts, right? So it is what? It is bidirectional. Okay, then fifth point on xylem is conduction does not require any expenditure of energy, and in phloem conduction requires expenditure of energy. What do you mean by expenditure of energy? That is, in this xylem, energy is not required. Okay, energy exposure or expenditure, that is formation of energy is not required. Okay, but in phloem energy is required. Okay, expenditure of energy is required. Okay, you understood the difference between both?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll just upload this assignment in Moodle. Okay, you have to write the differences between xylem and phloem and upload it on Moodle. Okay, this is your assignment. Let me mark this. Okay. Okay, you have to write this assignment in your Moodle app. Okay, fine. Then differences are over. Okay, now the next topic is what? Is transport of food. Okay, so come to page number 4. Okay, take the look at the topic transport of food. During photosynthesis, the plants produce their food as glucose, which is stored in the form of starch. The starch is transported in the form of a sucrose solution through the phloem upwards and downwards to all parts of the plant, including its roots. This is also called translocation of solutes. Okay, so what is a solute? Okay, here food is the solute. Okay, solute means particles. Okay, small particles. So here's food is the solute, and in during photosynthesis, what happens? This food which is stored in the leaves, okay, it is converted into different forms. It converts into glucose. Okay, some portions convert into starch. Okay, starch is then stored in the form of sucrose solution. Okay, it is a chemical name given to starch. Okay, and then glucose is the first food which is made. The first food which is made in the leaves is what? Glucose. Okay, and then starch is stored is in the form of food which converts into sucrose later, and this sucrose is then passed, or the passage of sucrose is happening inside the phloem. Okay, what does this phloem do? It transports in both upward and downward direction. Okay, that is bidirectional. So the food is transported by the phloem in both the directions. Okay, in form of what? Starch is in the form of sucrose. Underline these things. Okay, you underline during photosynthesis, the plants produce their food as glucose, which is stored in the form of starch. Okay, the starch is transported in the form of sucrose. Okay, the first food which is made is glucose. It is stored in the form of starch. Okay, the starch further converts into sucrose. Okay, for better flow, for better conduction, it converts into sucrose. Okay, and we already said that phloem helps in both the direction. Okay, phloem transports the food in both the directions. That is bidirectional, upwards and downwards. Okay, so this is also called translocation of solutes. Transportation of food is also known as what? Translocation of solutes. Okay, if in exam it is asked what is translocation of solutes, you have to write it is basically what? It is basically transport of food. Okay, food is in the form of solute. Okay, so the next topic is water absorption. Okay, water absorption by the roots. Next topic is water absorption by the roots. So, water absorption is done by what? Mainly, what is used? Roots. Okay, here it is written water absorption by the roots. That means roots are mainly responsible for absorption of water. Okay, roots are mainly responsible for the absorption of water. Okay, so from where does this water is absorbed? It is not absorbed by the whole root. Okay, so we have to learn from where does this water is absorbed. Okay, so root hairs present in them. Okay, there are some tiny hair-like structure which is attached to the main root, and these tiny hair-like structures are known as lateral roots. Okay, they are hair-like structures. They are spread laterally. Okay, that is sideways. Okay, not in upward and downward direction, but sideways. You can look at the diagram which is given in page number 5, figure 1.4, root system of a plant. Okay, in that one main root is given. Okay, then lateral root is given. Okay, that is the roots which are spread laterally. Okay, sideways. And then in those lateral roots there are some root hairs present. Okay, root hairs are present, and these root hairs are responsible for water absorption. Okay, these are very thin structures. Okay, so these are responsible for what? These are responsible for absorption, water absorption. Okay, please try to respond. Okay, if I'm asking what is responsible for what purpose, so you have to respond. If you know, please respond. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so you all understood what helps in absorption mainly. What is helping in absorption? Absorption is done by what? Root
Water.
hair. Yes, water is absorbed. Water is the material which is absorbed. Okay, so water is absorbed by what? Root hairs. Root hairs are present in root. Okay, the main root consists of lateral roots, and these lateral roots have root hairs on it. Root hairs is nothing but tiny hair-like structures. Okay, you can see the diagram given in your book, which is on page number 5. Okay, so these root hairs helps in absorption of water. So let us read this paragraph. We are familiar with the absorption of water by blotting paper or by cotton dipped in water. In both cases, water is absorbed by the property of capillarity, that is attraction of water molecules towards narrow spaces, and surface tension. But the absorption of water by the roots is quite different. To understand it, let us first consider the structure of roots. Okay, so now the structure of root is given. The root system of plant consists of a main root which gives out lateral branch roots. Okay, that is lateral roots. The lateral roots bear large number of fine outroots called root hairs. Okay, tiny hair-like structures, that is fine outroots called root hairs. Now we'll study what is a root hair. Given below is a magnified view of a root hair. It is a long protuberance of an epidermal cell of the root. This cell being a plant cell has an outer cell wall and inner cell membrane. Okay, so you have learned plant cell and animal cell in your previous classes, I guess. So in plant cell, basically what happens? Plant cell, the outermost cell is the cell wall in plants. Okay, cell wall is the outermost thing. And an animal cell, the cell membrane is the outermost. Okay, so in plant cell, the cell wall covers the cell membrane. Cell membrane comes inside, and then on the outer surface of cell membrane, cell wall is there. So basically, plant's outermost surface is what? Cell wall. Okay. So this root here is a long extension. Okay, these are extended laterally. On the lateral roots, they are present. The cell, being a plant cell, has an outer cell wall. Okay, since root is a plant cell. Okay, roots are present in what? Plant. So it's a plant cell. Okay, being a plant cell, it has outermost cell wall. The outermost surface is cell wall, and the inner one is cell membrane. Please underline these things. Okay, this cell, being a plant cell, has an outer cell wall and inner cell membrane. Underline these. I am asking you to underline this because in your book there are questions related to this. Okay. Okay, when the chapter ends, there are many questions. So if you want to find the answers of that questions, so you have to underline these portions also. To underline these, so there is a structure given, a root hair highly magnified. Okay, so you can see a cell wall at the outermost surface, cell membrane at its inside, then cytoplasm is there, nucleus is there, epidermal cells are there. Okay, and then root hair is that extended portion. That extended portion you can see, which consists of nucleus, that is the root hair. Okay, so you have studied in plant cell about the cytoplasm, nucleus. Okay, what is nucleus? Nucleus just basically helps in living. Nucleus is a living structure. It helps the organism to live. Okay, if the nucleus is removed, the organism basically dies. Okay, what is cytoplasm? Cytoplasm is a liquid. Okay, it's a liquid which surrounds the different organelles inside an organism. Okay, you have studied earlier, an organism consists of different organs. Okay, so these organs are embedded in what? In cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is nothing but a watery liquid, a colorless transparent liquid. Okay, am I clear? Are you getting my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
You can see the diagram. Okay, this is a very simple and easy diagram. You can learn this. If an exam it is asked, you can draw this draw this diagram of a root hair. Okay, so now come to that paragraph which we were reading. The outer cell wall, is rigid, and the inner cell membrane encloses the nucleus, cytoplasm, and its contents. Okay, so the cell wall is basically rigid. Okay, so cell wall is protecting. Okay, it is mainly functioning as a protector. Cell wall is basically functioning as a protector. What does cell wall do? Cell wall is basically thin, but cell wall in plants is what is the permeability of cell wall in plants? Is it semi-permeable or freely permeable? You know permeability, right? You have studied permeability before. So permeability means that a way in which the substances can flow inside out. Okay, the process in which the substances can flow inside out of the plant cell. So the cell wall is basically what? It is, you know what is what permeability cell wall has?
Freely.
Okay. Yes, yes, it is freely permeable. Okay, it allows substances, very good. It allows substances to enter inside. Okay, then what does cell membrane do? Cell membrane is semi-permeable. It allows only certain substances. Okay, it allows only some substances to enter inside the body of a cell. Okay, which is required. Okay, it does not allow every substance to come inside, but certain substances. Okay, so the cell wall is said to be freely permeable, and it allows the substances to pass through it. The cell membrane is semi-permeable. Okay, it allows the water molecules to pass through it but prevents the entry of larger molecules. So what does the cell wall do? It allows water molecules to pass through it, but it prevents larger molecules. Okay, because cell wall is a thin surface. Okay, it's very thin. So it allows only water substances, water molecules, not large substances. Okay, large solutes cannot be passed through it. Okay. This feature of the cell membrane facilitates the movement of water molecules from the soil into the root cells. Okay, so cell membrane only allows water molecules, and thus this feature says that this cell membrane does what? It allows the water flow from roots to different cells. Okay, or from the soil to the root cells. Okay, this cell membrane is allowing the passage of water from the soil to the root cells. Water is present where? Water is present inside the soil. So from the soil, root is embedded inside the soil, right? So the soil, the water present in the soil goes inside the root through this cell membrane. Okay, cell membrane allows this water molecule to enter inside the root cells. Now, the cell sap in the root hair is said to be of a high concentration as it contains more solutes compared to the surrounding soil water. Just a minute. Yes. So the cell sap. What is the cell sap? Cell sap is nothing but the contents present inside the cell. The content which is present inside the cell is known as cell sap. Cell sap in the root hair is said to be of high concentration as it contains more solutes compared to the surrounding soil water. So basically, what is said here, that the contents which are present inside the cell, that is in the cell sap, the contents in the cell sap are of high concentration. These are more in concentration, more in number, okay, more in space, according to the concentration which is present in the surrounding. Okay, so if we compare the concentration of the cell sap and the surrounding, the cell sap has more concentration. Okay, you understood what I'm trying to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if you have any doubt, you can ask me right now, or else we'll move to the next topic. You have any doubt? Okay,
No,
fine.
ma'am.
Okay, no. Then we'll move to the next topic, that is speciality of root hairs. The root hairs are well suited for absorbing water from the soil in three ways. Okay, so basically root hairs absorb water from the soil and is well suited in absorbing basically in three ways. First is, so you tick those 3 points. Tick those 3 points, 1, 2, 3. Okay, these are important points for why root hairs are meant for absorption. Okay. So first point is the numerous root hairs provide a large surface area. More the surface area, greater is the absorption. Okay. So there are very numerous root hairs present in these lateral roots. Okay, many root hairs are present. These provide a large surface area. What is a surface area? Surface area is the area which is covered by that particular type of root hair or anything it may be. Okay. If we study a mitochondria, you know what is mitochondria, right? It is an organelle present in the cell. So mitochondria also have cristae. Okay. Those also have large surface area. And if we consider human body, if we consider our stomach has villi, which is finger-like projections. Okay, they also increase the surface area. So these numerous root hairs provide large surface area. Okay, they are numerous in number and they provide large surface area. Okay, they are spreaded in a way that they provide large area. Okay, so more the area. Okay, more is the absorption. Okay, if we have more area, we can absorb more. Okay, for example, if we take a cotton ball, cotton absorbs water, right? Cotton can absorb water. If we take a cotton ball, it depends on the size. If we take more amount of cotton, that is a big cotton ball, it can absorb more water. Why? Because it has large surface area. Okay, the more cotton is there, so more surface area is there. Thus, it can absorb more water. And if less cotton is there, it contains only little amount of water. Okay, are you understanding my point? What I'm trying to say, that cotton, if we take a bundle of cotton, that is a big ball of cotton, it has large surface area. It is big in size. Okay, so it covers more area. So it will be able to absorb more amount of water, right? Similarly, if we take less cotton, it will only contain or absorb less water. So that is said here that it contains large surface area, and more the surface area, greater is the absorption. We are just taking the example of cotton because it is easy to understand. Okay, you have to write the example of root hair in exam. You don't have to write the example of cotton. I'm just trying to explain you with the example of cotton. Okay, am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So you understood? More is the surface area, more is the absorption. Okay. You can write in your own way that if greater is the surface area, greater is the absorption. Okay. Very simple. Now, second point, root hairs contain cell sap, which is of a high concentration than the surrounding soil water. We read earlier that root hairs have contained cell sap. Cell sap is the contents of the cell. Okay. It is in higher concentration than the surrounding area. Okay. सराउंडिंग एरिया में जितने भी कंसंट्रेशन है सब्सटेंसेस के, उसके अकॉर्डिंगली उसके कंपैरिजन में अगर देखा जाए तो रूट हेयर्स हैव मोर कंसंट्रेशन, हायर कंसंट्रेशन. ओके, सेल सैप का कंसंट्रेशन, द कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ सेल सैप, सेल कंटेंट. ओके, so root hairs contain more concentration of cell sap according to the as compared to the surrounding. Now the third point is cell wall is freely permeable. Cell wall is freely permeable, that is, it permits movement of all types of substances, but the cell membrane is semi-permeable. It allows only some substances to pass through it. So in exam, it can come as a question, specialty of root hairs or the characteristics of root hairs. So you have to write these 3 points. Okay. Third point is clear, that is cell wall. Since root hair is a plant cell, it contains cell wall as the outermost surface. Okay, the cell wall is freely permeable. What is freely permeable? That means it allows every substance to pass through it, but cell membrane only allows certain substances to pass through it, and thus it is known to be semi-permeable. Okay, the nature of a semi-permeable membrane can be illustrated by the following diagram. The semi-permeable membrane lies between water on one side A and strong sugar solution on the other side B. While the sugar solution has a concentration of sugar molecules, there are no sugar molecules in water. In other words, side A containing only water molecules is a dilute solution, whereas side B containing sugar solution is a concentrated solution. As here, the water molecules are comparatively less and sugar molecules are more. Okay, so in this diagram, in one side there is water molecules, in one side there is sugar plus water. Okay, so the sugar and water mixed solution is a concentrated solution because sugar is a solute here. Okay, so sugar is present, so thereby concentration of molecules or the level is more. So it is a concentrated solution. And the other side, that is the A side, it's only water, so the concentration is less. Okay, this is just a basic experiment on permeability. Okay, on the permeability of molecules. Now, okay, you can come to page number 6. Okay, the second paragraph, that is below that diagram. After a while, it will be observed that the level of water on side A decreases and the level of sugar solution on side B increases. This occurs because water molecules which are more on side A have moved across to side B where they are less in number. Okay, so this experiment is basically to test the permeability, okay, to test the movement. So here water molecules are passed through this freely permeable membrane or the semi-permeable membrane to the other side, and it mixes up with sugar. Okay, so the concentration is more in which side? On B side, because the water from A side has moved to B side. Okay, through a permeable membrane. Okay, so the water molecules, the water content is more in which side? Can anyone tell? The concentration of water or the concentration is more in which side?
B.
Is it side A? Yes, side B. Okay, Side B is the right answer. Okay, side B have the more concentration as compared to side A because all the water from side A has moved to side B through a permeable membrane. Okay, now that blue sentence, we'll read that the movement of water molecules from a dilute solution to a concentrated solution across a semi-permeable membrane is known as osmosis. Okay, so here water was a dilute solution and sugar plus water was a concentrated solution. So through this diagram, we can make a definition. Okay, the movement of water molecules from a dilute solution, that is from lower concentration, okay, to a concentrated solution across a semi-permeable membrane is known as osmosis. So osmosis, if it is asked in exam, what is osmosis? You have to write this definition. Okay, that is the movement of water molecules from a dilute solution to a concentrated solution. You can write this example also. If it comes in more marks, you can write this example of water and sugar. Okay, that is the figure 1.6 diagrammatic representation of the nature of a semi-permeable membrane. You can give that as an example if it is asked in more marks. And if it is only for 1 mark, you can write this definition. That is, in blue color, it's given the movement of water molecules from dilute solution to a concentrated solution through what? Through a semi-permeable membrane. Okay, it is known as osmosis. Okay, so let me give you an example. If we move to higher classes, you will have to experiment a potato. You will have a potato experiment. Okay, in that we experiment. Basically, we are trying to say what is osmosis. We are trying to understand what is osmosis. So in that we take a potato. Okay, we peel it and we take a cube of potato. Okay, we cut it in a cube and then we just take the take the more portion of potato, and then we just make it a tank like shape, a small pit we make on the potato, and then we place it on water. Okay, we put a needle on them, place it on water, and then we get the conclusion. After some time, the water gets into the potato, gets into that pit. Okay, because that potato, the thin potato we have cut, that potato surface is acting like a semi-permeable membrane, and this water outside passes through this membrane and gets inside. So after some time, if we observe that potato, the water, the more concentration is inside the potato and the less is at the outside. Okay, the water has moved inside the potato. Okay, so this is only an example. Okay, so basically osmosis is what? The movement of water molecules. Okay, you have to specify the movement of water molecules from a lower concentration or from a dilute solution to a concentrated solution. Okay, through what? Through a semi-permeable membrane. Through a semi-permeable membrane, this water molecules moves to a concentrated solution. Okay, this is known as osmosis. Okay, there are 3 types of movements of molecules are seen in plants. Okay, 3 types of movement of molecules are seen in plants. Okay, these 3 types are diffusion, osmosis, and active transport. Okay, so you just tick diffusion, osmosis, and active transport. Okay, so we'll read what diffusion is. Okay, diffusion is almost like osmosis. You can see the difference by reading this paragraph. You'll read that diffusion. Soil, water, and minerals move into the root hair cell by the simple process of diffusion. In daytime, carbon dioxide diffuses from the atmosphere into the leaf cells, and oxygen diffuses out from the leaf cells into the atmosphere during photosynthesis. This movement of molecules, okay, gas, liquid, or solid, from higher concentration to a lower concentration is called diffusion. Okay, so basically osmosis and diffusion is almost same. Okay, the molecules of these materials from a, so there is a difference. In osmosis, the water molecules move from a diluted solution to a concentrated solution, whereas in diffusion, the molecules like gas and liquid or solid is moving from higher concentration to lower concentration. That is where the solution is in higher concentration. Okay, it is moving towards a lower concentration, but there is no semi-permeable membrane here. Okay, there is no membrane here. The water is just moving from a higher concentration to a lower concentration. Okay, to the side where solution is less. But there is no requirement of a semi-permeable membrane. Semi-permeable membrane is used where? In osmosis. In osmosis, a semi-permeable membrane is there, and the water molecules from a dilute solution moves to a concentrated one. Okay. So this movement of molecules, that is gas, liquid, or solid, from a higher concentration to lower concentration is called what? It is called as diffusion. Okay. Now the second one is osmosis. It is the movement of water molecules from its region of higher concentration through a semi-permeable to the region of lower concentration. We already said what is the main difference. Osmosis requires a membrane, a semi-permeable membrane. But in diffusion there is no requirement of a semi-permeable membrane. In diffusion, the water is just moving from a higher concentration to a lower concentration. But in osmosis, the water molecules are moving through a semi-permeable membrane. Okay, from where to where? From a higher concentration to lower concentration. Okay, you understood the difference? Here in osmosis, a semi-permeable membrane is required. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Underline these things which I am saying. Okay, you underline that basic difference that in osmosis a semi-permeable membrane is required. Okay, that's a basic difference between diffusion and osmosis. Okay, so for today we'll do this much. If you have any doubt, you can ask me right now. Do you all have any doubt?
No, ma'am. No.
Okay, so you understood the basic difference between both diffusion and osmosis. That is, osmosis requires a semi-permeable membrane. Okay, the other definition is almost very same. Okay, only thing is osmosis requires semi-permeable membrane for the transport. Okay, now active transport and ascent of sap, all these we will do in the next class. Okay, so you have to write differences between xylem and phloem on your notebook, and then just scan it and make it a file. You can upload it on Moodle. Okay, I'll be uploading the assignment today. After that, you can upload it on Moodle. You can write after this class or whenever you get time today. And then I'll give a due date. You have to upload it before the due date. Okay, I'll be uploading the assignment today itself. Okay, so what is your assignment? Okay, just mark on page number 3. There is difference between xylem and phloem. You have to write that on your notebook. Okay, that's your assignment for today. And then also write the basic difference between diffusion and osmosis. Okay, I have already told you what is the basic difference. Just write it on your notebook and submit it. Okay, you all got what my point is? Got my point?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, in
Okay.
osmosis, we can write definition, and diffusion, we can write definition and differentiate.
Yes, of course. So you have to basically write the definition only. Okay. So in that way, the difference is already clear. You have to write the definition of diffusion and osmosis, specializing what is needed in osmosis. Okay. So in osmosis, you can write the specialization. What is the difference? That is the permeability difference. Okay. You understood? You understood what is required in osmosis?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Everyone?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So for today, this much is enough. We will move to the next topic, that is active transport, from the next class. Whenever your next class is, we'll do this active transport in the next class. Okay, thank you everyone.
Bye,
You may
ma'am.
leave. Bye bye.